clinical experience, but these children are told they're never going to walk or never going to talk or what their expectancy is. But as I said, new possibilities emerge when you change the environment. So we have our little ones who are cerebral palsy or cerebral palsy and blindness. We have a gal here, Abby, who has a genetic rare chromosomal disease, and she's not even supposed to be alive. And she's now a teenager. She's one of the few people walking the planet with this. She not only, when Mom first sent her here, she wanted her just to learn to be able to control the music, because she'd scream, not being able to turn it on and off when she wanted. Well, she got a lot more than that. She started singing, she started speaking, she started moving, she started using her hands on her own. She's now just gone off her feeding tube. She can swallow and eat on her own. And now she's learning to express her feelings as an adolescent girl instead of scratching or hitting. So our stories break through little girls who are just referred here because they weren't doing well in OT enough. So they thought maybe playing piano, their hands just couldn't coordinate, could help them learn to work their braille machine. Not only got that, but they got a little girl who was timid and wouldn't talk, didn't think much. Now just sings out, I have a strong voice, I'm a musician. She's just come alive. Oh, Kylie. So these are some of the stories that fill this three-dimensional space with magic. I'm going to tell you more stories. I want to start with the kids, with the littlest. And these are our most vulnerable. And it's been one of my, even when I was in school in the 80s, one of my favorite and one dear to my heart in our work. NICU, neonatal intensive care, because like I said, in the second trimester, you're already responding and developed your ability to process sound and music, and you start responding. So when these little guys, these little ones are born premature, they're used to having amniotic fluid and muscle and protection to handle this powerful thing of music and sound. When they are brought out in the bassinet, they come out. Music, we love to talk about the power of everything it do. We don't like to talk about the other side, the double-edged sword. And that's one of the things I'm going to say tonight. There's a lot I love to talk about NICU. But we can actually kill a neonatal child with music. And as music therapists, like I said, they're our most vulnerable, most precious, and they're the most amazing interventions that I want to talk about, but I can't due to time. But if you want to talk to me about it, I would love to. There's so much. Because the impact of music therapy needs to be, you compare, just open up. They're surviving, they're thriving because of the way we're using music. So I will tell you that we're opening a Health First Song program for the babies to come to as soon as they've been discharged to home. And we want to address the low-end sound issues that we're having here so these babies can come and have a transitional program once they've left the home. The low-end sound with the bowling is a nemesis, especially to these little ones. We either need to fix it or we're going to have to relocate in order to help these babies. It will be a transitional program for the babies once they have discharged to home. We're going to safely engage in music bonding and development without the sensory overload, and then provide transitional support into regular music programs, helping these little ones catch up with their full-term counterparts and enjoy the benefit of making music together like the rest of us get to enjoy, which they're often behind and left out of. So they're one of my favorites, and again, you want to talk to me, I'll go on for hours about them. When I talk about the NICU babies, I want to realize a lot of the children that we see did have homes at birth, were born prematurely. Children that are born prematurely often have developmental disabilities, medical fragility, asthma, a lot of things. So they need support through all the phases of their lives and even into adulthood. So it's important that you know that's the full spectrum. And being here 23 years, I've seen a lot of babies. Matter of fact, my best friends are here. Rachel and Catherine were born prematurely. And Mike and Tina they were far away, and I couldn't get to them when they were born. Just being able to bring the transition tape, that's the amniotic fluids. Dr. Fred Schwartz developed, an anesthesiologist, and Rachel or Catherine, I think they both were struggling, but just with that music in the bassinet, their oxygen saturation levels went up, and the struggle wasn't such a struggle. And they're full-grown women now, about to go off to college. So you just have to remember, people need support their whole life. Let's go to the next slide. going on, when I talk about the next level, we've had years and years of experience with adolescent psych, which adolescents, when you talk about depression, I say there's all kinds of levels of depression, but the one with teenagers that I saw the most was due to a normal reaction from an abnormal situation. So those kids, a lot of them did attempt suicide, and a lot of them were actually listening to music as they attempted suicide, and it was never the music. Just so you know, music does not cause you to be violent or to commit suicide, but it does communicate and say a lot of what's going inside. What are the tracks going on in your head, and what is the meaning for you? So when I would work with them, I would just simply, oftentimes, listen to the music with them, not say a thing, but then they'll start to talk, or just have my guitar next to me in the room. Instead of offended, like, I won't do it, because there's a camera on, but you kind of have this, we'll just say, attitude. It doesn't happen with music. That part of your development is so hooked with identity, and the music as expression of identity. You're a rapper. I'm a kicker. I'm a diva. You know, I could do the Beyonce. You know? So the kids love it. But they're responding most of the time to loss, to grief, separation. They've been marginalized. School is tough. Adolescence is tough. A lot of them are homeless. They're dealing with a lot of stuff. Many feel betrayed when the families break apart or other social systems. They just lack trust and a loss of that identity that's so important in driving. There was a girl that I worked with that was amazing. She, her father to control her and do awful things to her. It's part of being a therapist, and find out all the horrible things we do to each other. He put live snakes in boxes on a little girl to do horrible things. She fractured what we call disassociate. But through the music, this girl who had these real angry and self-defeating and actually attacking herself, just all kinds of different fractured parts of her, the music was where she communicated this intense belief in love. And through songs that we wrote, you would just be amazed, because sometimes, I don't know if you guys know who King Diamond is, but King Diamond's just really, they call it the devil music. He's part of the Church of Satan, but she could take songs like that and be into it about things that you think, this is just horrible, but actually it was about power and control. And when you listen to her, and then she would write her own songs. Nothing like that. They were beautiful. They're about her potential love, and the way that she believed that she could love others, and the way that she believed the world should love each other, and that she wanted it to be. And we wrote some of the most powerful songs I've ever seen of her. They're her songs. But that's the kind of work that you see in adolescence. And I love seeing these kids today, their parents, and then when they walk through my door to come say hi after all these years, I'm so grateful. You know, never get stuck there. And I tell my staff that, never get stuck. Don't think that where they're at now is where they're going to stay. And you have to see that possibility and hold that light for them, because they get it through, and they do well. So when our adults, as you know, we were recognized for neurologic music therapy, we work a lot with head injury, MS, Parkinson's, stroke. I want to share with you a story of Dan. And Dan, this is a picture of Dan and Kyle before he and his wife were in a horrible car accident where both of them sustained really traumatic head injuries. And Kyle was about 12 when that accident happened. So Susan and Dan and Kyle, Susan actually came out of the coma and she recovered. You would never know she had a head injury today. Dan's injury was the type that it affected his motor cortex in such a way that he had so much tone. Anytime he even thought about moving or speaking, he would just lock up. And Dr. Molich is here, and a lot of MACE people that we've all worked with head injury before and worked with me, they know what music therapy can do. So I wasn't working in the hospitals at that time, but he got a pass to come out of the hospital with his physical therapist. So we assessed Dan, and Dan, who was locked, completely locked like that, I started with instruments. Bad move. I should have started simpler, knowing head injury, because instruments in general, if you just put music on, made them actually spasm and worse. But with a simple voice, I found the right link. I just used my voice in my opera training, And I started high, and I went higher and higher as I could, and then I slowly brought it down, and so Dan slowly started to bend his legs. Now in the first session, we got him to actually bend his knees and legs with my voice going down, and they went back up, but they only did that 4 times in a minute. All right, that's where we started, and once you make the link, you move it 5 to 10% carefully. Too much stimulus would cause the spasm, but we got them moving. I want to show you, it's an old video, it's the day before our modern day, iPhones, great pictures, but I want you to see where we got. And Dan's spirit led us there with the music. So there you see somebody who's locked to, actually it's his physical therapist. See the music therapist? It was a simple drum, rim tap on his rhythm, and walking again with just some prompts behind the feet. He learned to move his arm, his leg. One of the things that was most difficult, though, is speech, because swallowing, breathing, speaking is extremely complex. Just every time he thought about speaking, it would send his body. But this, he was working hard on until something happened. Kyle was 21, and this was just a couple years ago. He had moved to California, off to college, and he wanted to surprise his mom and his dad. He took a small plane flight with somebody in California to come back to Austin, and in flight the plane crashed, and Kyle died. Dan and Susan are like people who are refined by fire into gold in their love and their marriage. Dan didn't want to work on walking anymore. What he demanded of us as therapists, he needed to connect